My name is Darren. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today's video is part of my series of the 9 elements of opera. I will be showing you one of the 9 elements, comedy or the comic element. What is opera? Opera is the oldest form of musical theatre in the Western world. You can see it as the grandfather of today's musicals because the origins of the first musicals in New York and London can be traced to lighter operas. You can think of it as a type of musical whose musical and dramatic content is much heavier and richer than the Hollywood, Broadway or West End musical. It's also a type of musical that not everybody can perform. When many of the masterpieces were first staged, they were premiered by the top singers of their time. Several of those top singers were the most talented in their generations. Therefore, singers have to undergo years of intensive and extensive training just to be able to sing their parts. As the oldest form of musical theatre in the Western world, opera's been around for a very long time. The majority of the most popular and famous works in the genre are at least 100 years old. Yet they continue to be performed today. They are performed not only in the countries where they were premiered, but also in other parts of the world. On one hand, everybody's talking about how this or that musical has managed to achieve a run of X performances on Broadway or West End. On the other hand, the most popular and famous operas have been performed so many times, we in the opera community have long stopped keeping track. If that's not amazing enough, there's something even more amazing. These works were composed for audiences more than a century ago. However, it's still possible for people today to have the same amount of fun they had in watching and listening to them. These popular and famous operas are equally capable of delighting people from vastly different generations. It doesn't matter whether they are baby boomers or millennials. Opera is very much a European art form. Nevertheless, it continues to draw Americans, Latin Americans, and Asians from diverse backgrounds, both as stars and spectators. How's that so? This is because opera has the power of transcending boundaries of time and space. It can gain followers from different generations and various countries. In my series, I'm going to show you what enables opera to travel from its homelands to the rest of the planet. I'm also going to show you what gives opera its lasting appeal throughout the centuries. I've boiled all that down to 9 terms, the 9 elements of opera. These are the 9 elements of opera. They are its 9 strong points which make it able to attract listeners and audiences from different generations and or countries. Today's episode will be on comedy. Everybody thinks about opera as a heavy-going type of musical theatre with doomed lovers. Thinking about it is enough to shake the earth under our feet. There's no doubt many of the great operas are tragedies. However, there are some which are comedies. Those comedies are light-hearted works about lovers being happily brought together. They can make us laugh or smile. In opera, there are 3 broad types of comedy. The first broad type of comedy in opera is opera buffa or Italian comic opera. To give you an example, I'll be showing some snippets from Falstaff by Verdi. This is an opera about a fat old knight who comically tries to seduce 2 young rich married women. The women play pranks on him to teach him a lesson.
Nel bagno, sul tetto, in candela!
Voglio tempo, abbiamo come il pescare il paniero, la pietra cieca e troppo grosso.
Vediamo! Sì! Centro!
Dottore, ci vuole servizio, il giorno, poi qui pure.
Amo, che sola! Salvami!
Svelto! Presto! Svelto!
Ai! Ci sto! Copritevi!
Presto! Col mio amor ci sto! Con ragioni
The second broad type of comedy in opera is German comic opera. German comic opera comes in the form of a Singspiel, or a German opera from the Romantic period. Singspiels and German operas from the Romantic period are operas sung in German which have dialogue in between the musical numbers instead of recitative. Recitative refers to the lines sung with minimal musical accompaniment in a way that imitates conversation. For our example of German comic opera, I'll be using a masterpiece which happened to share the same subject as Verdi's Falstaff. This masterpiece is Die lustigen Weiber von Windsor by Otto Nicolai. In English, it's called The Merry Wives of Windsor. Both Falstaff and The Merry Wives of Windsor were based on the same play, Shakespeare's The Merry Wives of Windsor. This was because the play was regarded by composers as something highly adaptable for opera. The Merry Wives of Windsor, like Falstaff, is also an opera about two young rich married women punishing the fat old knight Falstaff for trying to seduce them. However, unlike Falstaff, which focuses more on the title role, The Merry Wives of Windsor focuses more on the women. In my earlier example from Falstaff, we saw Falstaff trying to seduce one of the women. Falstaff is forced to hide himself when the husband returns home to flush him out with his henchmen. While they search the other parts of the house, the women get Falstaff to sneak into a laundry basket. They arrange for the basket to be dumped into the river by their servants. We'll be seeing the same scene in my example from The Merry Wives of Windsor.
Sein, doch hilft mir in Rückwärts hinein.
Es geht so, hinein. Geschwind, geschwind.
Und sie ist sehr flott.
Geschwind, geschwind. Herein, herein, was wird? Ha, 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 ha. Nun lebe ich und freut euch. Nun lebe ich und freut euch. Nun lebe ich und freut euch. Ha, 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 ha.
Herein, 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 ihr alle sollt zu geben sein. Herein, 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 ihr alle sollt zu geben sein. Hicklicke halt, wo wollt ihr hin?
Dort, und zur Wäscherin. Was willst du?
Das Falsche!
Was willst du? Du eifersüchtiger Mann! Was geht dich meine Körner an?
Falsche! Jetzt wirst du verknappt. Falsche!
These are the differences. The women hide him in the laundry basket right from the beginning. The husband ends up dumping the basket into the river himself when he returns home to flush Falstaff out with his henchmen. Besides language, there are other things which set Italian and German comic opera apart from one another. However, I'll only be going into more detail about this later in the series. The third broad type of comedy in opera is opéra comique, or French comic opera. For now, I won't be covering this subgenre in detail because its comic element is not that strong. Besides, its defining characteristic is actually another of the 9 elements of opera, so I'll only be covering this later in my series. In the meantime, just for comparison, I'll be giving you an example from one of the best works under the subgenre, Fra Diavolo by Daniel Aubert. This opera is about a comic bandit attempting to rob an English couple during their holiday at an Italian inn. In this example, you'll be hearing the bandit sing about his joy of being in his vocation.
faut se hâter de ta presse, il faut se hâter de jouir. Le sort qui nous caresse demain pourra nous trahir. Dans des périls de toute espèce, semble toujours me menacer. Des plaisirs et richesses, il faut gaiement tout dépenser. Ah, la vérité, c'est plus ça qu'à votre tas. Comme j'ai les doigts et moi-même, je vais comme ça. Je prends, j'enlève, je ravis, et les femmes et les maris. J'ai fait battre souvent le cœur, l'un d'amour, l'autre de frayeur, car le travail est mon seigneur, et l'autre dit serveur, serveur. Il faut se hâter le temps presse, il faut se hâter de jouir, le sort qui nous caresse demain pourra nous trahir. Dans des périls de toute espèce, semble toujours le menacer, et plaisir et richesse, il faut gaiement tout dépenser. Ah, non, mais les cas, c'est puissant qu'à ton temps, comme j'ai les doigts, et moi-même je les besoin, il faut se hâter le temps presse, me mène à me trahir, le sort qui nous caresse, demain pourra nous trahir. Les richesses, il faut tout dépenser, les richesses, il faut tout dépenser. Il faut gaiement tout dépenser. Il faut se hâter de ta presse, il faut se hâter de jouir, il faut se hâter de jouir, s'hâter de jouir.
In my next video, I'll explain what opera buffa's all about. I'll also be showing some of the greatest composers in the subgenre along with their biggest artistic successes. If you enjoyed my video, please help me like it. If you'd like to continue chasing this series, please subscribe to my channel. If you'd like to express your views about it or wish to discuss it further, please feel free to leave a comment. Thank you and stay tuned.